Young maverick entrepreneurs are the hot topic regularly because there always seems to be a new one making waves in some industry or other on a daily basis. Entrepreneurs are taking over the world, and personally, I think that's a good thing. One such entrepreneur is Alexa von Tobel, who is the founder and CEO of Learnvest, the learning finance site for women. Since its inception, Learnvest has received national recognition as a TechCrunch 50 company and has raised more than $24.5 million in financing. The goal of Alexa and her company is to empower people to take control of their personal finances. Hardly a new concept, right? So what makes Alexa and Learnvest so successful? What is she doing that is unique, different, and innovative that no one else has done before? That is exactly what we're going to find out today. We're going to pick Alexa's brain to empower you to build your own successful business through perseverance and innovation. Alexa, welcome to Success, and congratulations on being named one of our 2013 Success Mavericks.
Thank you so much. I couldn't be more excited about it. And thank you. Really, it's an honor.
So, Alexa, I'm sure you've heard the saying, necessity is the mother of invention. And based on what I know about you and Learnvest, that really seems to sum up the idea behind it all. So tell us the story behind Learnvest. How did this come into being?
Sure. So I grew up in Florida. I went to Harvard College. And when I was there, I got into Harvard Business School as a senior in college, got a job on Wall Street, and ultimately decided to defer going to HBS. And I really just felt this enormous need. I was really great individually at finance, whether it was, the markets or understanding, corporate finance. But I didn't feel so great about understanding my personal finances. And as I sat around and talked to a bunch of my friends, they really felt the same way. And that really ended up starting and planting the seed for this dream that ultimately now is Learnvest, which is every single person in the country needs to learn and understand their finances, yet we don't learn about personal finance in high schools, colleges, or graduate programs across the country. But we make about 6 to 10 money decisions every single day, and we will for the rest of our lives, and money is so critical. And so I wanted there to be a place for people to go to get trusted advice that's easy, that's consumable, and in a really, truly consumer-friendly way. And that's exactly what Learnvest became.
So I can't imagine that Learnvest was your first entrepreneurial venture. So tell us about previous experiences as an entrepreneur and how it influenced what you're doing today.
Sure. So I would tell you that my mom has thought I've been an entrepreneur since I was 2. And I think I really believe this. I really believe that entrepreneurialism, it's within you, and you always know it's there. But you don't really learn how to communicate that you're an entrepreneur until, in your early 20s, where you actually can better understand that all those ways that make you tick, that's what it is. And so when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, I was running the best lemonade stand around. When I was in my teens, I had jobs, and I was constantly working out of my dad's office, where he himself was an entrepreneur running his own practice. And then later I started a small tutoring company where I helped the neighborhood kids. In college, I helped start a magazine. And after college, I started a nonprofit that was pretty successful. And then I started Learnvest. So my whole life has been a string of ventures that I've started that I was passionate about. And I think that it took me until I was in my early 20s to really be able to identify that thing that made me tick, that was me being an entrepreneur.
And you actually worked for various corporations before and while even starting your company. So you've straddled sort of both sides of this. So for you, what's the biggest difference between the corporate world and the entrepreneurial one?
So I think the biggest difference is a few things. So first, I always tell entrepreneurs out there that you've got to really work on your plan while you have a job. You can't just quit and think you're going to start something that's going to work from scratch. So the best transition into entrepreneurialism is having a job where you've really worked in your free time, nights and weekends, on your plan, so that you can actually make a somewhat mitigated risk jump into running your own venture. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I also loved working for big companies. I think you can have entrepreneurial. I worked on at Morgan Stanley, I worked on a new desk that was somewhat entrepreneurial. But for me, I don't think entrepreneurship has to just be, an individual with two sticks, rubbing them together to start a fire. I think it can exist in so many different forms. So I don't think that it always has to be your own company in order to be an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm. You can be an intrapreneur, right? An entrepreneur inside
That's right.
a large organization.
That's right.
So when Learnvest first started, it specifically targeted women in terms of its marketing and overall branding. While I like focus on a particular target audience, some might ask why you initially closed the company off to basically half the population. Explain the reason behind your targeted focus initially.
Yeah, so it was pretty simple, actually. It was because in the first real launch of Learnvest happened where I launched the company out of my savings, literally. And the easiest thing to launch was content because it's actually pretty cheap to make and you can get a newsletter up pretty quickly. And one of the things about content is you can't be everything to everyone. Content by nature has to be very, very specific and have a strong voice. So we started with content where we could go out and talk to chief household officers, which basically represent most women in the country. And from there, we then launched tools where you could link all your accounts and really see your finances. And then the third step was actually launching support. And that's the subscription model service of Learnvest where you can actually talk to an expert. So as the company really, had its many different interpretations and evolutions, its ultimate evolution was the ultimate grand plan for Learnvest, which is anyone can come to Learnvest, anyone can get a plan. And in fact, we make sense for people that are in their 20s to their people that are in their 50s, men, women, wealthy and struggling. And I think one of the things that we've seen is, we started with the small base, we built a brand of trust, and now we're really exploding that brand across the country. So it's pretty exciting. But when you start with content, you have to talk directly to an individual. And that's where we started. And probably about a year and a half ago is when we really started to expand. And simply women brought their husbands, their brothers, their cousins to the brand. We already had a small base of men and they brought their wives. And we quickly just started realizing that, financial planning really makes sense for everyone. And so we followed our users.
Now, I've heard you describe being an entrepreneur as running the longest marathon of your life. So share some insight to that marathon. What does a day in the life of Alexa von Tobel, the entrepreneur, look like?
Well, let's just take today. So I probably went to bed last night around 2:30. Woke up at around 7. I got a little bit of exercise, got into the office, have had back-to-back meetings. So this morning, had literally a meeting every 15 to 30 minutes without stopping. Ran out of the office for 2 meetings, one uptown, got back to the office, had 2 more meetings, ran downtown, had 2 more meetings. And then I ended up doing a little bit of a focus group where we got to talk to some users. We hired 2 people today. And now, it's late, doing some interviews. And my day will probably end around 11:30 midnight. And that's every day. And I think I don't actually sit still. We joke that I actually don't sit at my desk. So I probably should give up my desk because we're growing rapidly and we need more desks. And it really is go, go, go. I barely sit down to eat lunch. Food is something that you do while walking. And I mean, it really is that simple. Every 15 to 30 minutes is scheduled. And if it's not, it's a rare moment when I get to get through my emails. And on the weekends is when I really do my strategy and catching up.
That's incredible. So if you had one ultimate tip for surviving the entrepreneurial marathon on a regular basis, what would that be?
Take it one day at a time. And I really do. It's what goes through my head every single day. It's probably the mantra that drives my life, which is plan for 5 years ahead, but then take it one day at a time. And you just, if you knew what you had to tackle tomorrow, and if you had to think about that on top of tackling today, you're going to get overwhelmed. And so I'd get out of bed every day, and my little mantra to myself is actually get up, dress up, show up, get up on time, dress up every day, and show up with a smile and take just today. And so that's really, truly how I run my life.
I like that. It's great advice. Now, being an entrepreneur and growing a business is a challenge, to say the least. Tell us about some of your more challenging moments that you've encountered building your business.
Yeah, so there's so many challenges. Goodness. I think a few things. I dropped out of Harvard Business School in the heart of a recession. That's a pretty real moment. And in the beginning, we were trying to raise our seed funding $1 million, and it actually went probably a lot easier than a lot of other people could have raised money. But there were nights where, you're not sure if it's going to close and it's going to take longer and you have to slow down, but you just want the money wired. And it's those moments that really pull at your heartstrings because you risk so much that you really just need things to come through. And I think what I've learned from those moments is in moments now that are trying, or moments now where something I want to get done tomorrow needs to take more time, I just remind myself to slow down, that it's about making the right ultimate decision and it doesn't have to happen overnight. And in the dark moments, you also have to remember that it's going to look real sunny tomorrow. And so you kind of just have to have the emotional capacity to ride the roller coaster, because it is a roller coaster.
Yeah, speaking of that roller coaster, obviously one of the things that drives you daily and helps you get over hurdles of growing a business is your passion. You can't hear you without feeling your passion, but you can't be passionate about something 24/7, 365. So what happens when that passion wanes a bit? What do you do then to sort of get it back?
So it's so funny that you say this because I have not yet had my passion wane, and I'll explain why for a second. So Learnvest's goal is every single person in the country should have a financial plan, and we are going to make it as easy as getting a gym membership. And we joke that it's like Weight Watchers for personal finance, but it is. It's a program, and we are going to help give every American advice about their money. And frankly, it's almost a civil right because money affects you so much that you should know how to get a mortgage. You should know how to pay down your credit card debt, and you shouldn't be taken advantage of in those moments. So that is such a big commitment. And 76% of the country feels out of control when it comes to their finances, and 61% lives paycheck to paycheck, and it's pretty dark out there. And I have a really unique position where I've been able to look deep into the financial psyche of America, and what I found was a lot of anxiety. And so I have so much passion for the fact that we can actually solve financial anxiety here in the country by simply empowering people with advice and making it consumable. And so one thing I'll tell you is I actually get to see hundreds of emails a day from customers saying, wow, you changed my life. I feel so thankful to have been able to talk to someone, because Learnvest connects you to a certified financial planner on demand. You get the same planner every time. They're really there for you via phone and email, and they answer all your questions and they give you trusted advice. It's that simple. And it's kind of like Apple's Genius Bar for your finances. And what we found is it just brings so much relief to people that I am consistently committed, because I feel it every day, the progress we're making and how much we're helping people. And all I think about is, how do I help 5 million people? How do I help 10 million people? And that really keeps you hungry.
So speaking of your customers and being connected, I know one of the things that I think Learnvest does well is listening to its customer and really investing time and energy into what they have to say in regards to your product. So share with us why you feel this is critical, not only for Learnvest, but for any company out there, and how you go about getting really connected and listening and engaging with your customer.
Sure. So today I actually was interviewing another customer support person, and I'll tell you exactly what I told her, which is, at the end of the day, customer support is the lifeblood of our business. We listen to customers for ideas. We listen to customers for problems we have to solve this minute. We listen to customers for innovation. And I can't tell you that it's the customers who have helped drive our product roadmap. Customers told us that they wanted to talk to an expert. And so what did I do? I got them experts and I put them on the phone. Customers told us that they wanted nights and weekends to be able to talk to their planners. So what do? A week later, we gave them nights and weekends. And I can't tell you, just if you listen to your customers, they'll tell you exactly what they want and you can build it for them. And so it's been truly impactful for us. I read most customer emails that come through. Obviously, I can't read them all. But on the flip side, they also are your best friends and your biggest allies. Our customers are sharing Learnvest like wildfire. And because of them, we're seeing a lot of growth. And so we thank our customers, we love our customers. And anyways, I think customers, if you always listen and stay true to your customer, on all fronts, even when you're thinking through a business development deal, if you always keep your customer at the forefront of your mind, and I am customer number one for Learnvest, literally. And because of that, it's always at the forefront of what I'm thinking about.
So even though your company is new, you seem to be continually innovating. Explain for us, why that is important to the growth of your company thus far, and what your personal philosophy, or what the philosophy is that you've ingrained in the culture of your company around innovation.
So I think the biggest thing is making people feel comfortable if they make a mistake. So you can't say, hey, your head's on a chopping block if you're going to make an error. It's about empowering people who are smart, which, so step one is hire really, really, really talented people. And I have to say that I am blessed to work with truly some of the smartest people I've ever worked with in my career. And they innovate by nature, but letting them make some mistakes. You're really not pushing boundaries if you're not doing some things wrong, because that means that you're not trying enough. And so I think that's it. We have a culture where it says, hey, feel free to go do that, try that, feel empowered to do that. And if it doesn't go well, know it, commit to yourself that it's not working quickly, and fail and kill it and move on. And so I think there's a lot of that going on. And also, I think probably the most important thing, probably number one, is that at Learnvest, we always say everyone's opinion is only worth one opinion and one vote. And the data from, hundreds of thousands of users, well, that's worth hundreds of thousands of votes. So we also directly look to the data, and we always say none of our opinions matter. The data tells you exactly what to do, and we only get to individually be one data point. So I think that's a pretty clarifying way to say, what do we really know? What do we not know? What's not working? What is working? And consistently using that as discipline to consistently keep building the business.
So let's talk about one of your significant achievements briefly, and that is that you raised almost $25 million over the last 3 years, which is an extremely daunting task. Talk a little bit about how you gathered the funding for Learnvest and how you can translate that to those that might be listening and are faced with the same task.
So I think the big takeaway is if you look at Learnvest, so financial planning for the masses made extremely contemporary and consumable. And if you think about that market, how many people in the country need that? Well, 99% of the country doesn't have access to a financial expert at all. And most people can't afford financial advice because it costs thousands of dollars. Well, that's unfortunate. So first, the idea is gigantic, and it can impact literally hundreds of millions of people. So I think the first thing is you have to have an idea that actually has a great size market and that can really impact a lot of people. So I think one of the things that's been helpful in us raising money is that people have said, wow, look at, when I say, hey, do you need financial advice? They're like, absolutely. And we talk about how big the opportunity is, and they can quickly think through on a show of hands 20 people in their own lives who also need financial advice. And, it's not rocket science. And I always say the best ideas are simple, and they're simple and they're big. And I think that this has the opportunity, I still have a lot of work to do and a lot to achieve, a tremendous amount, in fact. But the best ideas are simple. They're not rocket science, and they can impact a lot of people. And so that's exactly what Learnvest is really simple financial advice made accessible to every man and woman in the country.
So who inspires you, Alexa? I heard you say once that Richard Branson was an inspiration for you. I mean, talk about him, why he's inspiring for you, and who else do you consider to be an inspiration that you sort of look to and go, if they can do it, I can do it, and there's qualities or characteristics about them that I want to model to increase or accelerate my own success. Who is that for you?
Sure. So I have tons of places where I get inspiration from. So Richard Branson inspired me because when I dropped out of business school, a friend gave me his book. And it was about how he got all of his companies off the ground. And I think it just, by nature, I'm pretty gutsy. And I have always been comfortable with fear. But so he just inspired me through the pages to be gutsier. And I actually got to spend a few days with him on Necker Island. And it was just the coolest thing for me as a young entrepreneur to get to spend time with him and actually to get to learn that, when the going gets tough, the tough really get going. And I think that, I have the composition to be gutsy. Other people who inspire me, come in so many different flavors. I have mentors that are 75 years old who teach me about the old way of doing business, which it's truly you pick up the phone and you talk to people. It's not texting, it's not emailing. You have relationships. And I think, I was inspired by my mentor. His name's Anson Beard, who is in his 70s and was a big player at Morgan Stanley. I was inspired by him to have genuine business relationships where you are genuine human relationships. And I think good business is done through having good relationships with people. I've been inspired on the flip side by some of my best friends who run some of the companies here in New York, from Danny Joe to Paperless Post to Bobble Bar to Birchbox, who are just incredible entrepreneurs, and we get to share ideas. And that's every day, having my contemporaries feed me with problems they're dealing with. That's pretty awesome. And then, I've had the pleasure of meeting with, and, I worked with Katie Couric yesterday, and just meeting incredible women, like Katie Couric all the way to Diane Sawyer, who are just people that I get to look up to, who've had tremendous careers, and actually getting to meet them personally and just getting to see that they're genuinely lovely people has taught me about that, life's short, but careers are long, and therefore you have to manage yours really well and always be upstanding and always take the high road. And so anyways, I get a lot of inspiration from a lot of places. I could probably keep talking, but I definitely get inspired a lot.
So as we wrap up our chat here today, Alexa, share with us how you define success. You're obviously doing big things and have even greater ambitions to do even bigger things. How are you going to know that you're successful? How do you define success ultimately?
Well, it's pretty simple. For me, it's not about money. It's not about power. It's about impact. And so I will think that Learnvest is successful when literally we are able to give 5 million, 10 million people financial plans where they are going to be able to sleep better at night because they actually know that their financial lives are in order, that they're not in trouble. Financial havoc is one of the biggest causes of divorce in the country. It's just so pervasive. 2/3 of women retire into poverty. The stats are just alarming. And we all worry about money. And I keep joking it's the F word because finance, none of us want to talk about it. So for me, success is going to be impact. And it's going to be when we've impacted in a positive, really, truly positive capacity, literally 10 million people. And I won't stop till we get there. And I think that we can get there with the right guidance. And anyway, so I have a lot to do. And that's why I don't think we've been successful. I think we have a lot of work to do. And for everyone listening, get a financial plan. It's one of the best things you can do for your life. If you're an entrepreneur, one of the best things you can do is have a financial game plan, because me having a financial game plan is what allowed me to start Learnvest. I was able to drop out of business school and I had emergency savings to be able to go and live my dreams. And money's a lifeline to all of us. And I wish it weren't true, but it is. And you need to be able to have a money game plan so that you can have a life plan and be able to live the life you want to. And I think that we can give everyone that power. Even if you only make $40,000, we can give you a better life. If you make $300,000 and you still have lots of problems, which trust me, everyone, we hear from people all the time who are living paycheck to paycheck, even making a lot of money, and they need a game plan. And so I think we can help everyone actually have better lives. And that for me is very exciting and maybe even impacts the economy in a powerful way. So that's what gets me out of bed every morning.
Well, you are a true crusader for your cause, no doubt. So one final question for you today. If you had another young entrepreneur in front of you who was just getting started and you could offer them one piece of advice that you think would be the most important guiding principle that 6, 9 months, 18 months down the road, they would still have as a memory that has helped them so much, what one piece of advice would you give them?
Yes, that's a wonderful question. And it's really simple. When you start a company, you better gut check, soul check, brain check, heart check, that it is a company that you want to start. and that it is something that you are truly passionate about. So let me explain. If you want to start a cupcake company out of your home, you better get excited and that you love cupcakes and you can't wait to build the best cupcake company in the whole country. And the reason I say this is starting a company is hard, and it doesn't necessarily get easier. It gets more fun because you feel a little safer and big things happen, and that's so exciting. But every day you have to get out of bed loving what you do because it truly is a child. It's a labor of love. And I found a lot of entrepreneurs who struggle because they started a food company, but they don't really like food. They're not foodies. And I say to them, why are you in an industry that you're not completely living and breathing with your whole heart and soul? Because that's what really keeps you fed. That's where, for me, I can actually honestly say that, there have been dark days, but there haven't been any that were so bad that I ever thought about turning back. In fact, I haven't even gotten close to a night or a day where I thought about turning back. And the reason I can say that is I'm so darn committed to this mission, and I love what we do as a business. And I actually am so fascinated by personal finance and all the different ways we can help make people's lives better that I get out of bed every morning with a little spring in my step. And so if you're going to go out there and you're going to start a company, it's got to be something that you love. If you love music, go kill it. Go on with you. Go on with your bad self, but make sure it's something that you truly are passionate about, because that's what's going to feed your soul, and that's what's going to feed you through those tough moments to make those tough moments significantly easier.
Well, I am definitely feeling the passion. As a matter of fact, I would advise any of our listeners that if their passion wanes at all, just replay this interview. We can just feel you through the through the speakers in one's car as they drive to their own business. So thank you so much for sharing your passion, for sharing your great insights.